Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone. Today I'm going to do a product review of a brand new release by Digitrax. This is a DT602 Super Throttle, and this was released by Digitrax in July 2020. I was able to pick one up from an online hobby store, and I'm going to do an unboxing and review and compare this to the hand throttles that have been Digitrax staple for several years. So right now this is only available as a standalone purchase. To my knowledge, it does not come with any of the Digitrax command stations yet. I'm assuming this will be included in the future. If you notice that the interface of this looks very similar to the Zephyr Express system, which was released about 1.5 years ago. So let's go ahead and get this unboxed. I have not had this out of the package yet. Kind of see what we have going on in the box here. So here is the Digitrax manual, and it's a nice little feature. This one comes with a lanyard. Here is the throttle, and then also here is what I like is a detachable LocoNet throttle cable. So first impressions right out of the gate as I'm unpackaging this, it feels ergonomically quite a bit of a departure from their current 400 and 500 series hand throttles. It has a little bit of a taper here by the LCD screen. I notice that the throttle knobs are a lot larger than on the current 400 and 500 series throttles. Take a look at the back here. So initial impressions out of the box, it looks like a space-age technological DCC throttle. So this throttle comes available in either an infrared model or a duplex radio version. This is the infrared unit. I don't have duplex set up on my layout, so you do have pay a little bit extra for the duplex capabilities for full radio operations. This one will be always tethered to my layout because I just use the standard UP5 control panels. So here's just a little comparison of the 602 and the 402. This one came original with my my Super Chief command station. So I've had this throttle for probably a solid 7-8 years now. Again, noticeable differences, much larger display screen, much larger knobs. Size-wise, overall length are about the same. The profile is a little bit thicker on the 600 series version. This is a little bit thinner of a profile. Notice the throttle knobs are a lot smaller. The wire is tethered on the 400 series, and probably my biggest issue with the 400 series is the constant need to take a 9-volt battery on and out, in and out of the throttle. Nice, lovely new feature from Digitrax and these throttles is the ability to put AA batteries in and also not have to remove the battery. You can power the throttle down and it conserves battery life. Another nice thing I like, you can use rechargeable batteries, so I got some brand new fully charged durable batteries that I'm gonna drop in here real quick. So go ahead and get these batteries dropped into place here. And then we should be able to power this up. Very nice. Okay, so a couple things we got going on here. Obviously we have the backlit display, backlit keypad numbers here. We have a battery indicator up top here, and I believe that battery indicator is only used when the throttle is untethered from the LocoNet cable. Real quick, I just want to show you this before we head over to the throttle, or to the layout. So if you notice, the screen went blank after about probably 30 seconds or so. I was getting the cable unpackaged. The screen went to sleep, it beeped on me, and you can see if you look carefully, the power key is actually flashing about every 3 seconds. So it indicates that the throttle is actually on it's just not, it's basically in sleep mode. So if I press this button again, it reactivates it. Now, if I wanted to turn this completely off, I would press the power button and then we'll hit the soft key up there, but I'm not going to do that right now. So a couple marked differences between this throttle and the 400 series or 500 series throttle. So it has these soft keys down here, A, B, C, and D. I'm sorry, A, B, C below the screen, D, E, and F above the screen. So what ends up happening is when you send it a command, sometimes you have to use these A, B, C keys to actually get it to execute the command. Another thing that's a little bit different here are your directional keys, which are quite a bit in a different location than on the 400 and 500 series throttles. Here's your locomotive button to enter the locomotive addresses. The switch is, or the S button, will activate any DCC enabled turnouts. Here is your menu key to get in to do programming and things. Again, we have power. This X is the exit button. Fully lit keypad, 1 through essentially 10, even though there's a 0, so it's 1 through 9 and then 0. Probably the biggest thing that I've noticed, because I've used my Zephyr Express on the original 400 series throttles, it had a couple extended functions, F10, 11, and 12. This one only goes up as far as from 0 to 9. So on a lot of my loc sound locomotives, the brake function is actually F10. There, it went to sleep on me. So I'll show it when we actually get into operations, but that is one of the things I do miss about this throttle compared to the 402 was we're missing F10, 11, and 12 on the main throttle screen. So let's go ahead and get over to the layout. I'm gonna plug this in real quick here, and we'll go ahead and get over to the layout. Okay, so got my layout set up here and ready to go. Probably the first thing that I've noticed, and it's a little bit disappointing, not surprised but still disappointed, this throttle does not fit in the throttle cradle that fits the 400 series throttle. So I'm either going to have to leave these as is and not put the 602 in the throttle cradle, or I'm going to have to come up with a different solution for the actual cradle for this particular throttle. So we'll go ahead and we'll plug it into the LocoNet. So as you noticed, as soon as I plugged it in, I didn't have to hit the power button to turn it on. A couple things we'll notice here now that it's actually talking to a command station. This LN button is lit, and I apologize, I don't know how pixeled out this is on your screen with my camera. To the naked eye, this is much easier to read than it is on the camera. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get track power. So I'm going to push this power button down below here, and then when I do that, you can see the soft key, it says track on. So let's go ahead and do that. You can see that my track status indicator has lit up. So let's go ahead and select a locomotive. So I'm going to press the locomotive button, and this is on my right throttle. So I'm going to go ahead and type in 9, hit it again, 9185, hit the locomotive button again. So now my right throttle is active. You can tell by the arrow it is in the reverse direction. Here's my reverse. So we'll go ahead and change that to forward. And I'm gonna sort of scroll out here just a little bit. So I've got 9185, which is the black GP9 right in front of me here. So I know that F8 initiates startup sequence. So let's do that. So when I do that, here is my active function indicators. So if I press 0 for the headlight, you can see that 0 comes on, and then the headlight of the locomotive comes on. 1 is going to be the bell. 2 is going to be the horn. 3 is coupler. And then we'll go ahead and give it just a couple of clicks of the throttle here. So this is giving audio feedback every time you click the throttle. Mute it there so you can hear me. I know just like the 400 and 500 series throttles, you can disable that. I will go into the menu here in this video and disable the clicking, because it's just, I'm used to not having those clicks with my throttle. So let's go ahead and demonstrate how you activate the left side throttle function. So this B soft key has left and right. So now if I hit this B, now I'm on the left throttle is active. So let's go ahead and hit locomotive on this. Let's type in 8059, which is my GP10, which is hiding behind the GP9 there. So again, F0 is a headlight, F3 is going to be the gyro light. You can see those pop on there. F2 is horn. So what I'm going to do now is, if I wanted to toggle back to 9185, I hit this B button again, and now I'm back over here on 9185, and you can see right down below here of the active side, the inactive side, the left-hand throttle is locomotive 8059, and it currently has 0 speed on it. So if I wanted to apply a couple clicks to the speed on 8059, there it goes, and vice versa. I can hit 9185, and now it'll give that one some throttle. So if you've watched my YouTube channel, you know that all of my turnouts are connected to my DCC system via tortoise switch machines, and on this layout they're controlled by DS64s, stationary decoders. So if I wanted to throw, this is turnout number 1 here, sorry it keeps going to sleep on me, this is turnout number 1, I'm going to hit the S button, so now that gets up into our switches or turnouts, and the default address that comes up is number 1. So it is currently in a closed position, so I have on my soft keys here throw and close. So I'm going to go ahead and hit A to throw it. So it sent a command, and you can see that that turnout changed. And then we'll go ahead and hit B to close it. Now one thing you have to do on this throttle, same as the 400 and 500 series, while you're in the switch mode up here, you need to exit out of it. So just to exit out of the turnout menu, hit this X button, and it goes back down to your throttle. So if you stayed in the switch mode and you're running a locomotive and you think that you're hitting the bell or activating a function on your locomotive, it's actually going to program a number for the turnout. So just make sure every time you're done, you just hit X and you exit out of that menu. So another thing on the 600 series throttle compared to the other throttles, again, I only have 10 function keys on here, 0 to 9. So if I wanted to get into F10, 11, 12, 13, etc., I'm going to hit this A soft key, and now it's going to change it to, so here it's function 0, hit it once, it goes into the teens. So if I wanted to hit F10, I would just hit 0. Here's F11, etc. Hit it again to get it up into the 20s. So now a 0 would get me function 20, 1 is 21, 2 is 22. And then hit this button one more time to get it back down into the teens. So that's going to take a little bit of adjustment, because like I said, I'm used to F10 on the actual hand throttle. So this is going to be a little bit of a learning curve for me in terms of making sure that you continue to function or scroll through your functions, and that you're on either the 0s, the teens, or the 20s when you're activating your functions. So you should be able to see 9185 coming into view here. I've got this set up where my brake is F10, so I'm going to hit the function key to get up into the teens, hit 0 to get to F10, and it activates the brakes and the locomotive stops. And then again, get back to the base menu 0, just have to hit the soft key a couple times. Now we're back down into the 0s, so F0 will turn the headlight of the locomotive off. So a couple other cool features, it does have a help scroll bar down here at the bottom. So right now it's saying inactivity timeout, display dimming. If you get stuck, so if I hit the locomotive button and it just says to complete locomotive selection, press locomotive again. So I can go ahead and hit that. Another thing you want to do when you're in the locomotive menu, if you hit this more button, which is the C soft key, we can actually go into the more menu. Actually, you have to have the locomotive selected. If you hit the X while it's flashing like this, it'll dispatch it. So now 9185 is released from this throttle. So if I wanted to select it on my 402 or my proto throttle, I could do that. To re-enable it, I can just hit locomotive button twice, and now that is back active address on this particular throttle. So let's go ahead and dispatch that. And again, let's go back to 8059. So I'm going to hit the B soft key, turn off my functions. I'm going to dispatch this one as well. So now this throttle doesn't have any locomotives assigned to it. Let's go ahead and turn track power off. So we're going to hit the power button. Track off is the A soft key, and when you do that, the track status indicator goes off of your throttle, and you can see that was successful because my LED went away as well. So if you look up way in the back here, I got a GP38-2 sitting on my programming track, so we're going to show you real quick how to program some CVs with your 602 hand throttle. So I'm going to try to hold this as still as possible. First thing we're going to do is we're going to hit this menu button here, and it brings up some of our control menus. So 0 is the last menu we used. Number 1 is the quick program decoder setup. 2 is the CV programmer. 3 is utilities. We'll do 3 here after we get done with the programming, so it's going to change the clicks, the audible clicks on our knobs, and that's where we change it. Let's go ahead and go into quick decoder setup, and we have several menus on here. You can see the numbers on the side here, 0, 1, 2, and 3. I can hit the keypad number. So if I want to go into number 1, menu 1, I hit the number 1. We're going to go into menu 2, which is our long address. And then to modify it, we're going to hit the C button, which is our data. And then we're going to type in a new address here. So I'm just going to type in 700 and write it. So now it gave us some audible beeps. Our helpline here shows that that task is completed, so we just changed the long address to 700. So I want to change it back to 746, which is our road number. So we're going to go ahead and let's go back to menu 2. Actually, let's exit out of that, start back up here. So menu 2, we want 746, and then we're going to click on write, which is our B soft key, and that task is complete. So this is going to be the quick menu. You can use very quickly to change your locomotive address from the default of 3. You can change it from short to long, long to short if you wanted to change it back to the default. So let's go ahead and go to our last menu used. We'll exit out, go back up here. CV programmer, it gives us a couple different things here. Number 1 is programming and ops on the main line. You have to be careful doing that if you're programming on the main. Any locomotive that's on the main is going to take that command, that program. So if you're trying to change the CV, I know some guys don't have a dedicated programming track. I'm going to use programming 2, which is our paged mode. So let's go ahead and click on the CV number, which is the A soft key. I'm going to check CV number 3, which is our acceleration, and click on B for the CV data, and it's going to read it here. So the CV data the value for CV number 3, it's still reading it, gives us a value of 200. The default on this is usually like 50 or sometimes even 0 on the Tsunami soundtrack decoders. I've modified this for use with my Proto Throttle. CB3 is it's the momentum setting on the throttle, so really it's analogous to giving it a little bit of delay when we give the locomotive some throttle. So let's go ahead and hit back, done, and that's really in a nutshell how you're going to use your 602 to program locomotives. Last thing I'm going to show real quick, let's go back into the menu, our number 3 utility tasks. I am going to click on number 3, which is our throttle option edits, and here we got multiple options. The ballistic knob's on, key clicks, which is number 2. Hang on, we'll go back to the menu. This is a brand new throttle. You can tell I'm not used to it 100% yet. So again, we're going to go into our option, and this one we actually use the up and down soft key, which is a little bit different than the CB program. We're going to change this from on to off. Duplex RF allow, I'm going to change that to off simply because this is not a duplex, so we'll change that. Infrared allow, I'm going to change that because I don't have any infrared readers. Everything else is currently disabled, so we're done with that. We'll go ahead and exit out with our X key, and we're back to the main menu. So I alluded to this at the very beginning of the video, and I didn't have this available when I shot it because it's part of a different project I'm working on that's going to debut on my YouTube channel here in probably August 2020. Here is my 602 throttle right next to my Zephyr Express, so you can tell, and this isn't plugged in, by the way. The functionality, the ergonomics of this throttle mimic the Zephyr Express, so I fully expect this is the future route of Digitrax of how they're planning on developing their products. So this interface is going to be pretty similar to the Zephyr Express interface. So if you're used to the Digitrax products, you start with the starter set, which is the Zephyr, and you move up into a 5 amp or an 8 amp command station like the Evolution series DCC system Digitrax has. My guess is this throttle will be part of that, and you just will have the knowledge of how to use their interface. So I know that was a very quick tutorial on the unpackaging and just some brief operations of the DT602 hand throttle. My initial impressions, and I've only used this really as much as I was filming this video. I haven't really had a chance to play too much with this yet. My first impressions are this is a very, very high quality product, and it was worth the investment. The MSRP on this is just shy of $200. Again, I've always said this in my videos, check online hobby stores, check your local hobby store. You should be able to get it for a little bit less than the MSRP. I think the size, the weight to it, the fact that you don't have to pull the batteries out when you're done is a market improvement over the 400 and 500 series throttles. If I had a couple things that I just want to nitpick at, and these are not even huge disadvantages of this throttle, I've already talked about there's only basically 10 function keys here, 0 through 9. F10, F11, F12 are on the 400 and 500 series throttle, so there's really 13 functions without having to scroll through into the teens and the 20s. That's a little bit of a headache for me because I use F10 for my brakes for the majority of my ESU throttles. The other thing that, not a huge deal, but because of the thickness of this throttle, it doesn't fit into my current throttle pockets. So I'm going to have to figure something out or do an upgrade on my throttle pockets. But otherwise, this is a great product. I want to thank the guys from Digitrax for spending the time and investing in developing a new throttle. I think this really represents more of a modern design, more of a technologically advanced design, and I think a lot of guys will be excited about using this on their layout. So I know this is a brief video, If you have any shout out or questions, give me a shout out in the comment section, and I'll be sure to try to answer them. Thanks guys, happy railroading.